Okay, so in this video example, I'll be showing you how to UV layout this toaster oven that I've completed. So this is what the oven looks like in level 3, and this is a picture of the actual oven itself. So in order to put things like the stenciling or even bump like all these strips, okay, on the surface, okay, the first thing we have to do before we can actually project all these tags and everything onto the surface, or even screw holes and all that, you can UV layout it first. Then you can actually fake all these bumps and all these tags or indentations right on the surface of this item. Okay, so now this toaster is in level 3 at the moment, so I'm going to switch everything to level 1. And you'll notice that I built this toaster in different sections. Okay, in fact, one piece here, this toaster side, right, is not connected to the main body here. And if I go over to the elements itself, and if I double click, you notice that this particular element is not connected to the body element over here. And this top body element, where the bread goes in, is also not connected to the bottom element over here, which is this cover. And then at the bottom here, there's another element, which is, I made it to look like the crumb tray. Okay, so for beginning UV layout users, right, if you're doing this for the first time, it'll be a good idea to actually separate it into different objects by itself. Okay, but I'm going to show you what it's like, right, to UV layout a element or an object, right, that consists of several elements like this one here, the bread toaster element, the side, the cover, and then the toaster tray. And the rest of the items you can see over here, like the knobs, and then these levers and whatnot, and even the rubber feet, right? All of these are separate items. Okay, so I'll start off by UV layout something that is more straightforward first, like this side over here. So if I isolate the item, we can have a better look at this. Click on this button here in your viewport to take a look at it. Okay, you can see, okay, I can see a thick line here in UV layout mode. So this tells me that there's probably a gap over here. So I'm going to confirm it by going to vertex. Left mouse click on one of the vertex, then use the move tool and see whether there is an open hole here. Let me check over here, see whether there's an open hole. Doesn't seem to be. Okay, and let me go to vertex face and check, see whether there's any lines in between. Okay, so it looks a bit weird. Okay, probably because this started out as a mirrored object. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go to object mode. Okay, and I'm going to use the method that I always use, that is to rotate it at 3/4 view like this. Then use UV, camera based projection. Then we have this shape over here. Now, in order for this to successfully unfold nicely and flat, okay, so we can see the flattest area is this section over here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert an edge loop, just cut an edge loop. In fact, I want to keep the edge loop as close to the edge as possible here, like that. Then I will do a cut. Now, every time you do a UV cut, remember a cut, not as in a knife cut in an object, but a UV cut. Make sure your UV cut is done in a UV editor. So move your cursor to the UV editor, hold down the shift right mouse click, then cut. So now I've essentially cut it into 2 shells over here. All right. So if your topology is good, your 4-sided loops are running correctly. If you can cut a continuous side, then you can see that I can easily separate this into 2 sides. All right. Next, I want to find a loop. In this case, for this particular shell over here, I want to find a loop or edge, right, that I can cut at the bottom, so that I can just imagine this is a piece of metal that I can unfold so that it become a long strip. So I'll go over to the edge, double click to select this edge loop here. All right. So when you select, notice that I'm selecting it in the UV workspace, not here. If you select and double click here, the loop will run across here, which is not what I want. All right. So right now there's a loop cut that is cut over here. Then I can hold on the shift right mouse click and then cut. Now there are shortcut keys as well. You can go to click on cut and sew. You can see that the shortcut key is shift X, right? So if I want to cut, I'll just press shift X to cut. And since I've successfully cut this strip, I can unfold this using the unfold tool, so it will become a long continuous strip. So go to UV shell and select this shell, shift right mouse click, unfold, and then choose unfold. and it should become a long strip, okay, just as I expected. All right, so I'm gonna use the orient tool to straighten it, okay. Now come to this shell over here. Now I'm gonna anticipate issues right about the edge over here because the edge, right, you can see in the 3D shape, it is cut inwards. So in order for this to really unfold flatten, I will need to cut this edge right over here, all right. And for this one, I will have to, I have to look very carefully and determine which are the edges here. But sometimes if you're not too sure, you can use the select similar tool. And the select similar tool sometimes might be smart enough to select the edge for you, but in this case, it doesn't seem to be. So I'll have to manually press Q and select myself. And these, from these two edges over here, and then finally these two edges from here to here. Now how do I know which ones to select? Okay, you want to select one loop, right, that terminates right at the corner. You do not want to select a loop, right, that cuts across like that. All right, then now we can move our cursor back into the UV space and press Shift X, and then you can see the loop cuts are applied. And go to UV shell, select the UV shell, Shift right mouse click, layout, sorry, not layout, unfold. And you can see now it unfolds nicely. And I'm going to use the orient tool again, Shift right mouse click, orient shells, and now it's straightened. Okay, so we can check the UVs by selecting both pieces, Shift right mouse click, layout. And now you can see that it will lay out nicely within the 3D space. We can turn on our checker pattern. And you can see that the checker pattern has been nicely distributed. Okay, we can also press number 3 to subdivide it and see what is the result. And you can see that it looks good. Okay, there's minimal stretching. There's a little bit of stretching going on around here. Okay, but we usually I think at level 1, right, you won't see that. To actually prevent this from happening, right, later next time when we export this into Unreal, we have to go through a process called smoothing. That means we are going to physically really subdivide this and chop this into small triangles. And most of these distortions will go away. Okay, so that is one side done. Okay, now let's proceed to the other sections which are more complicated, which is this main body over here. And so you can see this object here with the checker pattern on. Obviously the UV projection is not done properly. So we're going to do it one side at a time. Okay, I'm going to go over to face selection mode. I'm going to just double click to select this face only. I'm going to turn on my checker pattern. All right, and again, with only this element selected, I will rotate my view 3/4 view, then go over to UV and camera project. All right, like that. Right, I will move this shell aside first. Okay, then next I will go over to this element, double click on it. All right, again do a 3/4 view. That means you not front, not top, not side, but a 3/4 view, so it covers all the angles. Then do a UV camera based projection, and then move this aside. Then finally we have the bottom element here. Just double click. Okay, then we go UV, project, use the camera based projection again. Then finally the tray. So go over to face, double click the bottom tray. Then again UV project, camera based. And so I can see the tray, right, I think is the easiest item to unfold because it is the simplest looking shape. So we can unfold this straight away, unfold, and then Shift right mouse click, orient. Okay, make sure you're in shell mode. Right now I'm in the face mode, so go over to UV shell first, select the shell, Shift right mouse click, orient shells. Okay, so if this one is done, I can put it aside. This one is relatively simple also, so I will Shift right mouse click. Okay, but look carefully here, there is an extrusion that go inside. So this area here, we will have hard time, right, unfolding this section. So we need to select this loop and detach this section over here. So if you have any section, right, that is extruded inwards, you will have to detach it or create a new shell from this selection. So go to face selection mode. Since I extruded this, these are 4-sided faces. I can select one of the face here, hover over to the next face, holding down the Shift and double click, and then the loop will be selected. right mouse click, shift right mouse click, and then use the function create a UV shell from the selected faces, and then move this aside. And now this particular shape over here is just a flat piece of sheet metal, okay, which it was meant to be. So I can go to UV shells like this section and then unfold, and it should become nice and straight. Shift right mouse click and orient the shells. I can put this aside. And for this one, in order to cut it into a nice layout, we have to select one of the edges here, press Shift X to cut, okay, or Shift right mouse click cut, then go to UV shell and unfold it. It should become a long strip like that. Run the orient again, orient the shells. Okay, so and we'll put it aside. All right, so these are done. We can put it aside. So now we focus on the side piece here. The side piece, we're going to use the same technique that I did for the earlier one. So I'll first find a edge loop that is close to the edge over here. Okay, probably this one over here. Double click the selected, and you realize that the loop, because it's four-sided, is going to run across like that. And shift right mouse click and cut. Then I separate it into two shells, move this aside, and this one, same thing, I'm going to select this edge, double click. And you see, if I can double click on this edge, right, it should terminate at the corner edge here. Okay, but unfortunately I can't really see which edge I'm in right now. So I'm going to go over to the 3D view and select one of the edge first so that it's highlighted. Then I can hold down the shift and double click, and now this is the correct edge that is selected. Looking for another edge that terminates at the corner, so select this bottom edge here, come over to the 3D view, holding down the shift and double click. Okay, so here it's a bit hard to see, so go over to the 3D space and find the edge here, shift, click, and then zoom in closer, holding down the shift and double click. So now I have all the corners, okay, selected. Shift X to cut, so now I can see the lines thicken, so that means we've cut this already. Then we go straight to UV shell, right mouse click, go to UV shell, select the shell, shift right mouse click, unfold, unfold. Then shift right mouse click, go and optimize it, okay, press G again to re-optimize it. Then shift right mouse click and orient the shells. So this one is done, I can put it aside. The bottom strip, same thing again, we're going to select the lower loop like this in the UV view, shift X to cut, then go to UV shell, shift right mouse click, unfold and unfold. Shift right mouse click again to orient shells to straighten. Then I can put this aside. Now here comes the most complicated bit here. Right, so this one is a lot more complicated. So we are going to use the 3D view to help us to select this piece over here. So what we're going to do is double click and select only the faces, double click to select only the connected elements, and then isolate the selection. So it makes it easy for us to isolate these portions over here, right? So the slots, right, where the bread is going to pop out, these are the ones, right, which I'm going to select. Right, I'm going to select all these faces that form the slot, deselect those that I do not want. And I want to separate them to become separate shells. So with them selected like that already, so just with the face selected, just hold on to shift and right mouse click and then create UV shells out from them. Then now we created all these individual shells. Okay, now it makes the UV layout for these interior much easier. Okay, so next we're going to select the corner, any of the corner edges. Okay, holding down the shift to select any of the corner edges here. Then shift X to cut. Then now we can unfold these. We can select all the UV shells here. Shift right mouse click, unfold and fold. Then they become long strips. Then we're going to optimize them. Shift right mouse click, optimize. Okay, I'm going to optimize several times. Okay, I think that's the best you can do. Then shift right mouse click, orient the shells. It should straighten them. Then I'll put them aside. And then finally this piece, once I got rid of the center portion here, it will be quite easy to unfold. Just like this. Shift right mouse click, unfold and then unfold. I'm going to do an optimize. Okay, press G again to optimize it further until it all straightens up. Okay, I think this is the best you can do. Alright, then yeah, basically that's it. We got all the sections right laid out. Now I can get out of the isolate view, select all the pieces, then do a orient shells, then shift right mouse click layout, and it should pack all the pieces within the UV space. And then if you click on the checker pattern, and all the checker pattern right now should look properly mapped on the surface like that. Okay? So what is left are all the things like the knobs and all these pieces which are relatively easy to model. Okay, I have one piece here which is this, let me go back to object mode, get out of the checker pattern. Okay, remember to go over here and uncheck the checker. Okay, this piece over here, this piece, right, is a duplicate. Okay, this is a crumb tray handle. This is crumb tray handle number 2. So I'm going to delete away the crumb tray handle number 2 because it is the duplicate of this piece. And you can see that it still has the old cube UV layout. So what I'm going to do is we'll just do a, this shape is quite simple. I'll do an automatic projection first. The shortcut is this one here on top. So you can see the shapes are UV laid out almost nicely for me, the front, top, sides, and so on. Okay, but there are some pieces which I want to connect to the side here. For example, this edge, let's go to edge mode. This edge and this edge, I want it to be stitched together. So shift right mouse click and stitch together. Then I'll do another layout. Need to go to shell first, shell mode, select all the shells, shift right mouse click, layout UVs. Also I want to check, make sure that my scale for this item, right, is in object mode. In my channel box, make sure that the scale is correct. Right now the scale is at 11, so I want to freeze the scale. So normally before you do UV, you should always check and delete history and freeze your scale. Let me check my toaster oven. My toaster oven is fine. It's just this item here, the scale was out. Okay, now coming to this section, I think I want this shell, these shell to be, or these faces, right, to be separated. So I'm going to select these two faces, or rather this face and this face. Yeah, these two faces, I want them to be separated. So shift right mouse click, create UV shells. So now they're separate, and I want to connect them to another shell. So go over the edge and see where is it supposed to connect. Let's see. Okay, so this edge, yeah, is connected to the other side. In this section here, we seem to have an overlapping face over here. So I'm going to select this edge and this edge, and then I'll do a move and sew. Same for this one. So as much as the automatic layout is good, but sometimes you have to do this cleanup work. Alright, so maybe this one, these two, I want to do move and sew so that it jumps to the other side instead. Yeah, so this one looks a bit better for me. So now select all the shells, shell mode, in shell mode, then go and do an optimize. Press G several times to optimize it, repeat the optimization. So once that optimize is done, we can do an orientation, orient the shells. Okay, maybe this one. Okay, then we'll do a layout. Okay, not unfold, we already done that. Actually, we can do another unfold again, see what happens. Unfold and unfold, yeah, just a little bit optimized, and then finally layout. And it should use up most of the UV space. Okay, you can turn on the checker pattern and see what it looks like. All right, that looks good. Okay, so now I've done one of these already, then I can just go and duplicate this in object mode, shift and then duplicate. And the duplicate should carry the same, what do you call that, UV, okay, UV layout as well. Okay, so that we don't have to do this twice. Okay, so now let's work on this handle. Okay, again, this one was originally a cube. Okay, so that's why you can see it still has the cube section. So it has a cylindrical piece. Let me just isolate view so you can see a bit clearer. We're going to detach this cylinder section here to form a new face. You can actually select the face over here. and then come into 3D view, shift right mouse click and create a UV shell from it. Then we can separate the UV shell. So this is actually the cylinder. And since it is a cylinder, we can actually apply a cylinder projection. Let's try a cylindrical projection on this. And we will have to go and rotate this in the correct orientation. Okay, this one is a little bit tricky. Let me go to the front view. All right, actually the right view. And then I'm going to move the manipulator until it aligns with it. Okay, let's go back to perspective view. Then we will wrap around click on this transform handle and wrap around the cylinder. So now you can see the cylinder is kind of unwrapped. Then we can move this aside and we can go to shell, go and unfold it, see how far I can unfold. We got this weird overlapping edge over here. Let me go to level 1 and see what happens. Okay, so it is not, it is actually correct. There's nothing wrong with this. So shift right mouse click, gonna orient the shells. Okay, so this cylindrical piece is done. And then we have this spherical piece. So you can try to use the spherical piece to UV layout this, but since this is a sphere created from a cube, I think the best thing is to just UV layout it as it is, like that. So I'm going to select this UV shell. Then I'll say unfold. And you can see now it starts to exhibit the UV layout like that. I think this is fine, this is okay. We will select both of these shells now, and we'll do a optimize. Okay, G to repeat the optimize, then shift right mouse click. Let's go back to UV shell. Shift, select both UV shells, do a layout along the UV. Okay, and then that's it. Then if you turn on the checker pattern, right, all the checkers pattern should appear fine. All right, so we are done for that little knob. Okay, then now we come to these knobs over here. So you can see this knob is a mess. I believe these started out as a capsule and then extruded out to form this circular piece. So I'm going to try to use a automatic projection first and see what result we can get. So we use automatic projection and we get something that is pretty okay. There's one section here that we need to connect or find the piece, right, to connect over here. So we can go over the edge here, double click to select the edge and see which are the other edge that is connected, which is supposed to be this one, I think. Yeah, so I need to separate this section here. So double click to select this edge, shift X to cut it out, then double click to select this edge, shift X to cut it out. So now I can select this edge, then use the move and sew, and then finally this open edge over here. Okay, this edge connected to this edge. Hold on, I'll shift the double click and then move and sew. Then this shell here I can unfold, and we still have another section over here that we need to connect. We select this edge and find where is the other piece, which is this one. So there's actually two edges here. So we identify as this section. So double click, select this edge, cut, select this shell and separate it. And we are going to select the entire edge at the bottom here. So go to edge mode, select this edge, shift, select, 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 and select. And you can see the corresponding edges are selected. Shift right mouse click, move and sew. You can see that it jumps over here. We're going to do another UV unfold again. Alright, so this one is done. We can move it aside. Okay, let's look at the other pieces over here. Now, you can see that there's a lot of cuts and everything. It just makes everything very complex to try to stitch everything together. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to select all the shells. Okay. You notice that the bottom, let me go to isolate select. The bottom of the shells here, they actually can be separated. Okay, they can be connected into one shell. So I'm going to go over to face selection mode, select only the bottom shell, like that, and then move it aside. So I know that these are actually the side perimeter, right? So go to level 1 by pressing 1. Go and select the edges, and we're going to do the move and sew. move and sew, select the edge, shift right mouse click, move and sew, and then this one here, and move and sew the edges. Now, some of the white lines here that you see, they are actually supposed to be connected. So let's try to unfold it first. Go to shell, unfold this, and you can see that it's starting to form this circular pattern, which it is. Okay, so I will try to stitch this or sew these together. There is a sew tool. There's a sewing tool which is, let's see where it is, which you can actually paint and sew. Or the sew brush, the sewing brush. Let's see, where is it? Okay, I couldn't, yeah, here's the sew tool. Under the tools, sew tool. So if you paint over edges, right, they're supposed to be sewn together, they will be sewn together like that, see? Yeah, so this one is a useful tool as well, if you know that the edges are close to each other. Okay, so press Q to go back to select, go to UV shell, shift right mouse click, unfold, and shift right mouse click or optimize. Alright, so we have pretty much the bottom here now fixed. Okay, but the bevel is basically causing this area here to bend. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this edge here, shift X to cut, so that split into two shells like that. Then I can straighten this out. So now I can select this shell. When I unfold this one becomes a long strip. Okay, that is because we have this bevel that's forcing it to connect like that. And as for this one, we can try to sew the two halves together. Or actually, we select the entire UV shell, go over to the side view, because this is, I think, should be the front view. Yeah. Then we do a projection, a front camera projection for this, only this selected face only, this shell only. So in 3D space, you can UV and then camera projection, and there you can see we have now the shell created or reprojected. All right, so you can do it projections like this. All right, so these two are basically done. The scale is wrong, but the layout will fix that later. I'm going to optimize this, then I will orient and straighten this. Okay, so this one I'll put aside. So now come to the remaining portions here. So I'm going to select the remaining shells. I'm going to exit the isolate and reactivate it again, so that we only see this knot over here. Okay, so looking at this, we're going to reproject this. So I'm going to use the camera projection. Shift right mouse click. Sorry, under the UV camera project. So now we have this piece like that. We're going to cut off the capsule section on the top. Double click here and then cut. Then you can move this aside. Okay, just go to shell. Go to UV shell, select the shell for the sides, move it aside, and then this top part here, we just need to select the corners, shift double click, then we have to zoom in here, shift double click. Okay, this one is a bit tricky. This one I need this to help me. So select these edges, yeah. Then shift X to cut, UV shell, unfold. Now I can see nicely flattened. And this one, I just need to select one of the bottom edges, double click, shift X, select this entire shell, unfold and unfold, it becomes a long strip. So all my pieces are now flattened and UV laid out. So I can now get out from isolate view, select all the UV shells, and then do an orientation. I'm going to do a optimize. Press it several times, then shift right mouse click, layout the UVs. Alright, you can turn on the checker pattern and then see how it looks like, and everything is properly projected. Okay, maybe the sides here, I need to perhaps split this into two, because there's a side angle on the checker, which is what I'll do. I'll select an edge over here, double click to select the entire loop, shift X. So go and select the UV shells, and then unfold it. Okay, then do the UV layout again. Okay, and I think I want to manually straighten this a bit, orient the shells. Okay, this one I need it to shift right mouse click, rotate 90 degrees. Yeah, like that. So if I look at the checker pattern, yeah, now it's looking much better. Okay, so again, if I don't want to go through the entire knob UV layout process again, I can delete away this secondary knob on top, then just duplicate it. And then this one is slightly smaller, the secondary knob, and then I have my secondary knob. Don't have to do the UV layout again. Then I'm going to reset my delete history and freeze transformation. And do the same for this one. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the knobs. So you can see the knobs are, because of the complex looking shape, it takes a little bit of time to UV layout. Okay, so I don't want to continue anymore because this, for the rest of these, right, the knobs, everything, they are the rubber feet, right, they are quite straightforward. So I will not demonstrate how to do that. But once you get your UVs done, this is, the entire thing should look like this. All right, with all the UVs all properly done. So with that done, right, we can do things like assign like text or do strips or bumps right onto the surface. Okay, so with that, I'll end the tutorial.